All right. So it's a little bit of a different thing that Tom and I are doing. We're gonna, in addition, don't worry, in addition to the podcast, nothing's gonna change with that. So we're still gonna, have amazing guests all across the board, and Tom and I will still do podcasts just with me and Tom as we've done in the past. But this is just in addition to, we figured, so we can be more topical with things, and yeah, just put our beautiful faces in front of you guys a little bit more, I guess, right?
Get the algorithm going.
Yeah, that really matters. Yeah, I wish I don't have time to like there's like dudes that are so really, really good at like manipulating the algorithm and every little thing, color science, and I don't know, I just ain't got time for that, bro.
Thumbnails, cuck face thumbnail.
Yeah. I
Gotta
guess
have
that re
that.
they really make a difference, supposedly. The thumbnails. I mean, there's certain things I've clicked on just because of the way it looked, but I don't know. There's probably something to it.
Of course. And anyone who's on this checking it out, check out my YouTube channel, please. I'm still trying to get 1,000 subscribers on the Headhunter Higgins channel. It's mostly wrestling and grappling and whatnot, but show it some love.
Yeah, definitely. And you could follow the show at Two Truth Seekers on all the social media platforms. You could follow me at Sawbuck Mike, Mr. Headhunter Higgins at Headhunter Higgins. That's kind of a tongue twister. Headhunter Higgins, you Triple H.
Right? I've thought about that before.
Yeah, the king of all kings. That's just like the men of all men. That's fucking crazy,
Brutal.
right?
Brutal.
Yeah, so a couple of things that fucking popped on my radar, dude, that I wanted to talk to you about. I'm not even sure. So for people that are listening, we discuss a little bit ahead of time, but like right now we didn't really talk about anything we're going to talk about. So a lot of times we like to fly by the hip because then we get like our real reaction instead of like a fucking corny rehearsed kind of thing. I don't know. Tom and I just that's the way we roll, I guess.
100%.
Have you ever heard of the HRC?
HRC.
Yeah.
Uh, by name alone, can't say I have.
So I'm gonna spit a bunch of these fucking three-letter abbreviations at you. There's the HRC, there's the ESG, there's the DEI, and the CEI. You had never heard of any of those? I haven't either until like
DEI. DEI
eh,
sounds familiar. What does it stand
that's
for?
so that one stands for the diversity, equity, and
Okay.
inclusivity score. And then the human
ESG.
ESG is environmental social governance. So they, deal with more like they
Yeah.
govern businesses and environmental. The HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, they kind of sit above it all. And then there's the CEI, which is the Corporate Equity Index score, which essentially is an organization that makes sure that you are hiring under appreciated groups. So
Yeah.
LGBTQT plus African Americans, Native Americans, women, these things. So the reason why I find it so crazy is because that's what businesses now base all of their decision making on is those equity scores and those diversity scores and all that bullshit. And I just think it's crazy because the more you look into it, the more you start to realize, okay, for instance, George Soros is a name that pops up a lot, right? And people might be like, well, how does he do it or what does he do? Well, George Soros and Larry Fink. Larry Fink is the CEO, I believe, of BlackRock. Okay. So those two guys, particularly Soros, I'm talking about now, he donated like $100 million to the HRC about 8 years ago. So essentially, he now is in control of what these businesses do. They're at his mercy because he's the one that funded them. And Larry Fink is on record of saying that we will force them into what we want to do. And this is just another way of doing that. That's scary, right? That's fucked up, dude.
Sounds like all these are just the social credit score incoming.
That's exactly it. And that's exactly it. This is all a predecessor. This is a precursor to a social credit score that is, in my opinion, is inevitable, right? That is 100% the social credit score is coming to America, right? No pun intended. Eddie Murphy movie, good movie, but
Yeah, it's pretty lame. It's pretty
it's
fucking globalist bullshit. run of the mill.
Dude, it's to me it's downright terrifying, dude. Because, all right, for instance, let's say you're a police officer or a cop, or a police officer or a cop, same fucking thing, right? Or a firefighter, I meant to say. So let's say you're a firefighter. Let's go with that. Now, your brothers are the guys that you see every day, the guys that you work with every day. They literally have your back, similar to, military, right? Where their lives are in, your lives are in your buddy's hands, your coworkers' hands. Now, if you're a firefighter that literally has to run into burning buildings with hundreds of pounds of gear on their back and go into these buildings to try to save people, do you want someone that is next to you solely because they are from an underrepresented group? Or do you want the most qualified guy there to have your back? Because it's literally your life.
Yeah, of
You know what I
course.
mean? And,
It
and really, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and literally, is- they they're the racists. They're the ones that perpetuate hate. They like to spin it. They do. It is. It's just like with
No,
the
that's what
whole
I was gonna say
Democrats
too.
and Republicans. Like they like to spin it like we're doing this for equality and equity. But it's like, no, that's not. What does equity mean? Do you mean equal or do you mean equity? Because those are two different things. You know what I'm saying? Jordan Peterson has a brilliant explanation of the difference between equity and equality and what is actually, what they're really saying there. So, yeah, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say for sure, just more divide and conquer because it's an obvious answer, but then they can use any, logical thinking or pushback or, resistance to claiming you're racist or you're this or you're that, and that'll give you a bad score. And then that makes, you know, a wider amount of people open to being oppressed, because they went against whatever the, you know, let's say law or rule or whatever the fuck they're trying to enforce for a social credit score. You're not allowed to do this or you lose points or shit like that, or hate speech laws and stuff become very easy to implement based off of the simplest things, as maybe like, hey, maybe you don't hire people based off of this. And I get maybe there was some good intention originally, then maybe there are stats that certain groups are underrepresented and for whatever reason or the other, but that doesn't mean, and yeah, like you said, I've said that before too, that it's actually more racist because then they're basically being like, well, these people are inferior and we have to
Right.
help them and give them the extra thing because we view them as inferior for whatever reason. So we have to, give them a step up. It is like pretentiously fucking uh I
Sorry,
can't think
pipe
of
dogs.
I can't even hear your dogs to be honest. Can't think of the right word. Pretentious isn't quite it, but it's pretty supremacist thinking in a way. And when it comes to like immigration, there's so much content out there pushed too because it's one side or the other. And then it pulls somebody into that, I guess you'd say left or right box. So then it continues to divide. And then they're using foreign people as like a pawn, like whether they're from Africa or the Middle East or whether they are from Ukraine or somewhere or any place that actually has some type of war. And everyone's like, well, they're usually just sending adult males there, never like family and asylum seekers, because once again they can stir up some division, maybe stir up some racial tension at the same time, stir up the community who justifiably like their community's already fucked up. The people are already like living in shit wherever it is probably, and now you got a bunch of other people backing up the system. It makes sense that they'd be like, hey, this is bullshit. Then that becomes, hey, you're speaking hate against migrants. You're speaking hate against this group and that, you fucking bigot. And then when they have all these migrants, don't you think those people are the people that are getting handouts, going to be more likely to just do what the government says because the government just housed them, just did all this shit? And then those people will outnumber the, native people who were being like, no, we don't want to change things. We don't want to do this or that. Like, well, we'll be like, sorry. Well, all these people that we just brought in and, buttered up to be on our side voted for our policies. So fuck you guys. And that's how you easily globalize everyone.
Dude, that's exactly it. You said it very well. And we're kind of seeing the repercussions play out in Europe because every time I go on Twitter, I'm seeing I'm seeing a refugee in Germany, in France, and in Wales, people getting stabbed left and right. And it's always these people, these refugees stabbing innocent. There was just a police officer that died in Europe. I'm ignorant to what country. I apologize, but it's a very real thing, dude. It's a very real thing. And if you are just listening to us for the very first time, we appreciate it. This is the Conspiracy and Chill podcast. However, this isn't actually a podcast. So we're doing something new. This is going to be like just a little video series that Tom and I do so we could stay more on top of things, more topical. But if you do like what you're hearing, you can absolutely, we encourage you to check out the podcast. It's available on all platforms, iTunes, Spotify, right here on YouTube too. It's a little bit more polished. I edit it, I produce it, so it's probably a little easier to listen to. But this way, you get to see us too. So yeah, dude, I agree with everything you said, dude. It's scary, man. And I think that did you plan on having kids ever?
I mean, yeah, obviously, when you look at the world and break it down in ways that we do on this show and like-minded folks, you'd think sometimes would it be a bad idea to bring a kid into an uncertain world or whatever. But I think that's letting the system win then too. If you hate it so much and you feel that hopeless that you want to not continue your bloodline yourself, but at the same time, the parent, you and anyone who has kids, the parent perspective is something I can't really fucking speak from because we know how the world is, and then the concern of a parent, yeah, fuck, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern, having an 18-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old boy, soon to be 13. Definitely concerning a lot of things the way I see the world. We talk about it a lot during the course of our regular podcast. But I asked you because, yeah, a lot of people you said it. A lot of people say, I don't know if I want to bring a kid into this world. Da, da, da. And I like what you said, how it's almost like letting them win. And also, if you think about it through the history of humans, however long that's been, we've been through some fucked up shit. You know what I mean? And all kinds of natural disasters, floods, fucking war, you name it, right? All things considered, we live in a pretty decent time. So my point is, and I'm taking a long way there, I guess. My point is, there's been a whole lot worse eras to have children in than right now, and it
And we
worked
made
out
it. Yeah.
right, exactly. So yeah, I think you're right. Um,
Granted, starvation and the elements and disease and wild animals was kind of like built into us to have to survive. I don't know how much our biology accounts for brain chips and fucking radiation everywhere and plastic. Although our body is an amazing machine, it's pretty good at fighting what's not supposed to be in there and knows what's best for itself. But we're facing some new warfare nowadays. But I do agree with what you said, but it's just a different series of threats now.
so kind of crossing it over into something else I wanted to talk to, but it absolutely ties right into the HRC, ESG, all that bullshit, right? So Hollywood. Do you know how that started? Do you know that all the movies used to take place in the I wrote some notes here, in the 1920s? Hollywood wasn't a thing. It was all the movies were done on the East Coast. And a gentleman named Thomas Edison oversaw it all. Nothing got made unless he had express consent. Now he kept putting all these different measures on people to make movies like you have to do this, you have to do that. So so they said, you know what? Fuck you. We're gonna go over here and make this thing called Hollywood. And that's what they did. Okay. But now the same thing's happening with them. They keep putting these restrictions on movies. Do you know that now they passed a thing recently that in order to be nominated for an Oscar, which is the highest award you could win in that field, in order to have your movie recognized to be nominated for an Oscar, you need to have at least one third of the people in all departments fit in that underrepresented class. Now, what I mean is, I'm talking about actors. I'm talking about camera guys. I'm talking about the catering crew. I'm talking about the produce. I'm talking about everybody. Do you know that movies like the Titanic, Gladiator, Godfather, none of those would have ever been possible? Like, w- what are we doing, man? But we went from about 95, 20 years ago, 95% of the movies being produced in Hollywood to about 55% now. So people are starting to do what they did in the 1920s. You would think they'd learn. So
Everything is cyclical.
really is,
Everything
dude.
Everything trends go around, come around. It's funny.
Dude, and I had no idea that Thomas Edison had anything to do with that until I heard it and then I looked into it and I was like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. I wonder if Tom knows about this. So
Nope, that's a surprise to me.
shit.
Never heard about that either, but it seems like it fits the part. He seems like he fits right in as a top Illuminati elite of his time.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I really like to get sucked into, one of the rabbit holes is different Easter eggs in movies, like different hidden things. And um, the one, what was the one that Obama just produced recently, like the end of the world one? And
I
dude,
never didn't see it, but I did heard a lot about that propaganda shit. Yeah.
dude, there is so many fucking things in that movie that is just wrong. Like Bao, the way that they did it, the way that they spelled Julia Roberts and some of the actors' names, it clearly spells Baal. In the opening scene, a guy's laying in bed. It's hard to see, but there's a six on the clock, a six on the wall, and then another six. So right there, 666.
They're always
Uh,
telling us.
dude, I mean, I can't even, please, for anybody that's interested, Google that, YouTube thing after thing about how many there are, but there's one in particular or two, actually, I lie, two that I recently just found out about. And I wanted to know if you ever heard of these two because I don't know how I missed this. These are big. Okay. The first one is The Dark Knight Rises. Now, that movie was made July 20th of 2012. Okay. And the Sandy Hook school shooting took place December 14th, 2012. So after, okay, what is that? August, September, November, October, 5 months before Dark Knight Rises released. There's a scene at 1 hour and 58 minutes into the movie where they're planning for the robbery. It's real quick, but you could find the videos again on YouTube. And it's there because it's been on it's not Photoshop. It's 100% legitimate. Right when they right when they pan to the map, real quick, you could see Sandy Hook and it's circled.
Yeah, it's wild, not surprising. And like the Matrix Neo's thing is like 9/11, his ID
Oh,
or
that's
whatever.
the other one I was going to tell you about.
Yeah.
Yes, so I dude, yeah, so the Matrix during his interrogation with the agent Smith or whatever his name was, Neo, they reveal, and it's real quick, that Neo's passport expires on September 11th, 2001.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. Come on. And this is another little thing to that whole passport thing that I think is kind of cool, but it's kind of a stretch, but kind of cool. His birthday is March 11. That's in March 11, 2020 is the day the world changed.
Oh wow. Was it wait, you're kidding. The day that
Well, his birthday is not March 11, 2020, but his birthday is March 11th. And when I'm saying March 11th, 2020, that's when the world changed forever because that's the whole COVID lockdowns
yeah, that's fucking
started.
wild, bro.
So,
They
I
plan
mean,
far ahead. We know
dude,
this. We know this.
and I'm someone that always leans to how far can they really plan shit? Like I really believe that, right? But then there's things like this that happen, or there's things that you bring up, or there's guests that come on and it's like, whoa, wow. Like I don't know, man. It really confuses me because
Well, like
it's
our one boy
it's
said, Shane, they could be hundreds of year old vampires. Maybe
he
they
alluded
haven't
to it.
planned for that long.
He definitely alluded to it. And that's okay. And that makes you think. You've seen the pictures online of like Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, bro. Like the
Dude,
compilation of lookalikes, and they look exactly like them.
dude, exactly. Did you see the new one? I think it was either this morning, I think. It was something that a new Simpsons thing. They had a new compilation of what the Simpsons have gotten right in the last couple of years. Dude, crazy. I mean, they got it. There's a Simpsons episode where they have Donald Trump as the president, the sheik of Iraq, and another gentleman all
And
around
they're at
this
the crystal ball. Yeah.
a globe, a crystal globe, and they're all
Yeah.
touching it. Dude, I mean, they even got the sheik's fucking wardrobe colors right. I mean,
Social engineering. I'm pretty sure the Simpsons, Matt Groening or whatever guy is probably a super high up Freemason.
Dude, either that or he is a time traveler.
He's an
There's
insider, that's for sure.
there's really no other option when you think about it because okay, listen, man, you can maybe just out of pure coincidence and luck nail one, two. I'll even be generous and say you could nail half dozen fucking things. Okay. But there is probably 40 or 50 instances where The
Yeah,
Simpsons, and maybe more, but dude, that's not luck. You know what I mean?
I agree.
You think he's really
Yeah,
a Freemason?
I'm pretty sure.
He must be one of the bad ones, not one of the good ones like Militich.
I got no comment on the Masons right now. I think I've said enough about them, and we can get into it another day. But right now, I would say, yeah, he's an insider, and it's social engineering. It's not that they're predicting it and getting it right. He just knows what's going to happen, so he puts it out there as like a predictive programming, subconscious type of thing. And yeah, who knows? Maybe he's a good guy and he's trying to warn us and tell us, but don't
Yeah.
know. All I know is when it comes to the gematria and the numbers and the names and all that, and when it like big fights and stuff coming up. So McGregor's fighting, and this is our sheeple release. I really don't get into other sports at all, and everything you're wearing the they live glasses. Everything's fucking sheep. Everything's a distraction. Everything's all sports are fake and manipulation and ritual, and I do subscribe to that, especially the blood ritual, the violent combat, gladiatorial spectacle with all the rich people watching the blood be shed. But hey, yeah, we subscribe to it. That's my escape. That's my blue pill, and McGregor, Chandler. Wonder if it's actually going to happen. Hopefully, and then Bilal's fight. So one I'm attached to. I'm trying to be there in person for it. I was already planning on being in UK and Ireland in August anyway, and that's the very end of July. Hopefully, I can weasel my way to fly in on the UFC's dollar somehow. Get in with
Yeah.
training with Bilal. Maybe we'll see. And
You can corner him.
I don't think I'll be in his actual corner, but if I could be just like a body, a training partner, and be there, part of the experience, that would be pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Um,
They're first class, dude. There's no other organization um, yeah, what compared to all the other ones, like they run fucking smooth, bro. Like backstage, like it's like a well-oiled machine, bro. Yeah.
I was thinking though, like people get really into the gematria and the numbers and the names and meanings of things leading up, and I was like, all right, let me do my own little schizo dive on it. And just looking at it straight up, I'm like, okay, a couple things. You got Leon Edwards from England, although he is a Jamaican, so that plays into it a little too. Leon would mean, like Leo, like name to do with a lion. And then people would associate England, if you get into a lot of weird lost tribes or whatever the elites believe and stuff, that they are the Lion of Judah, like they are of the Lion of Judah or whatever, and they're supposed to be ruling the world in England. And that is what the Jamaicans and the Rastafarians use as the symbol of the Lion of Judah too. So Leon is very much so representing England and the lion and whatever. And then you got Edwards, his last name, which if you trace it all the way back would be like King Edward, who was like king of the Anglo-Saxons. So even more so, just like super English meaning and whatnot behind Leon, and like somewhat Christian, I guess you could say, the lion symbol. And then you got Bilal, and Bilal's name means like victory, water, full moon. And then Muhammad would just me have to do with like the Islamic prophet Muhammad. So then I was just thinking like, holy shit, what if the fight's on a full moon? Just like his Bilal's name. And I looked to see, but it's not. And so I'm sure people will do a breakdown of like the numbers and stuff who are way more of like deep divers, like, oh, Leon's name translates to 36 in Gematria, or 20, and Bilal's is 27 and the fight's on the 27th. Bet all your money on Bilal. Like some wild shit.
Dude, we need to get someone on the real podcast who is a gematria guy
Yeah,
or
I
girl.
know for sure.
Yeah. Because I was never really even that interested in it because I didn't really see like much connection or value, I guess. However, ever since we've been doing this podcast, it's like I'm realizing that I was so ignorant. Dude, it is in everything. So Yeah, dude, I want to learn more, dude. We got to get somebody. So if you're listening and you're out there and you're good with, is it gematria? Is that how you pronounce it?
Gematria, something like that. But yeah, I think that's some next level shit.
Mm.
That's some next level. Like the numbers don't lie, and people could say it's a coincidence and whatever, but I feel like it's a way of like coding this reality that whatever, if you want to call them the magicians, the sorcerers, the whatever, the Kabbalah experts, the people who were pulling the strings and using language and wording and literal math and numbers to try and change the matrix to the way that they want. I have no idea.
Going back to that McGregor Chandler fight, I don't know if it's going to happen either, but I said as soon as it was announced that those two were going to fight, it's a terrible fight for McGregor, dude. I mean, it's a terrible fight for Conor McGregor. Like, I honestly, he hasn't won a fight in forever, and I honestly think this is it for him. I don't think he's going to beat Chandler, and after that, it's like, what do you do? You have celebrity fights every couple years with Jake Paul or some shit. Like, where do you go from here? Like, you don't need to do anything. You're rich. I get that, and I'm grateful for him because he shined so much light on the sport. Ultimately, was good for everything in the sport. I'm just not a fan of him, you know.
No, dude, I've literally hated on Connor since. I mean, at first it was I was kind of just indifferent, and I was interested to see the rise, like everybody who was a fan of the sport was at the time. But I'd already been watching MMA for a long time, and everyone would have thought, and even my younger self would have probably thought, like, eh, uh, that I would like him just because he was an Irish fighter, and like, whoa, there's finally like a badass, exciting fighter from Ireland. Like, this is sick. But I don't know. He rubbed me the wrong way. Like the preferential treatment is what I didn't really like. I got why they were doing it, but like just giving him like an easy route and like overhyping him, giving him all these opportunities and just clamoring off the sheeple Irish fan base and him being a fucking cunt and just a lot of stuff. Plus, honestly, too, like even from just a stylistic point, like would have a lot to do with it. Yeah, he's exciting. He was putting people away. His striking was fun to watch. He was really good, but I'm a grappler. If that's like your glaring hole, I'm like, ah, I don't really care about this guy. He can't grapple. Like, so that was why I was just never really a fan of him. I rooted against him in most of his fights, but this time I want him to win. I want him to come back and fucking win. I don't really care for Chandler. It's not that I dislike him, but it would be kind of sick for Connor to come back and be good again after everything. Even though he's kind of a piece of shit, like all things said, uh I want him to do well. I want him to do well.
Okay, so much. So Chandler, I've out of all the fighters that I've met, haven't I don't really dislike many, if any of them, but he is a guy that has always rubbed me the wrong way. I'm talking about Michael Chandler, just the way he carries himself. I remember it was someone who was there covering the fight for a smaller outlet, and it was their first time. And he went up, it was when we were I think it was when Chandler was fighting Pitbull in Chicago. And it was before the fight, a couple days before the fight. And it was one of the press events they do. So this kid went up to Chandler and he asked Chandler, hey, can I get an interview? And Chandler was like, how many followers or how many subscribers do you have? And the kid was like, oh, I'm working for this outlet. We're smaller. And he's like, talk to my agent when you're a little bit bigger or when you get more followers, something like that. And I was just like, wow, like, you're a dick, dude. You know what I mean? You're a dick. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think taking all my emotion out of it, I just think he's more capable of beating him. Would I like to see Conor win? Sure, I think it's good for the sport anytime he's doing good. Um, but going back to what you said about how, yeah, you would think I would like fucking cocky, badass Irish guy, but I think for me, I think if he, because I almost felt like he won a lot of his fights with his mouth before the
Oh yeah,
fight
he
even
did.
started. And I think for me, if he didn't talk that shit, if he just was like a humble warrior that just went out there and did his thing, I think I probably would have been more attracted to him. But just the whole talking and if you can back it up, but we've been seeing he can't back it up. So I
During
don't know.
that
That's
time,
what
though,
turned
bro,
me
he
off.
was a master of psychological warfare. You got to give it to him. And like
100%.
looking at it too, I'm like, he he did whatever he could to get the win towards his favor. But yeah, if there wasn't any of that chance on like the mics to publicly embarrass people and like get in their head and that whole thing, yeah, he probably would have gone down a good amount as a fighter. Uh, it would have been a little bit more equal playing field. He just put so much pressure on the opponent himself as well. So he like made it uncomfortable for both of them. And he was just good at dealing with the pressure. I think that yeah, people underestimate that. But even going back to like some ancient Celtic warrior shit, a lot of the accounts would talk about how they would do shit like that before fights. Like they'd be like tatted out or like painted blue and fight shirtless or naked sometimes to show they didn't give a fuck and spike their hair and like do like go out into the middle and like taunt them and basically do a McGregor thing, just talk shit like any man to a duel, like challenge the enemy to single combat or just like taunt them or Braveheart, like showing them their dicks and mooning them and just doing all this shit to try and psychologically fuck with the enemy or scare them or brutal. You
Dude.
gotta respect finding a way to win. Definitely
Oh
not my
yeah,
style. I'm
dude.
not a shit talker. Really, I just in my whole competitive career. And if I was to go back the MMA route, which was my dream for the longest time, and who knows, I still won't rule that out. Would be I would not want to talk shit. I'd probably be kind of like Bilal. I wouldn't want to be faking. Like I think I could do some funny shit, but genuine, just like skit, stupid fucking like Colby Covington. I wouldn't want to do it. It would come across so
Yeah.
cringe too. Even though I think I could do it better than some of the dummies that do it, but
Dude, McGregor's knockout of Aldo, it was like, dude, that was incredible. It was like 3 seconds or 5 seconds or some shit. He just one punch starched him. It was like, whoa, that was it. That's all it took. Yeah, dude, he was super impressive in his prime. You know what I always wanted to see that I felt like was a huge missed opportunity for the UFC? And I think that you kind of mentioned why it's never happened because they kind of protected him in fights, you know, like giving him a brundage on the way up. But do you remember during that one press conference when Jeremy Stevens said something and McGregor said, "Who the fuck is that guy?" Or you know what I
yeah,
mean? Who the fuck are? Well, my friend Jeremy Stevens and Conor McGregor would have been one fucking hell of a matchup. Don't you think? Like I thought they really missed an opportunity with that.
I think Connor would chinned him. I think Connor would chinned him.
He probably would have, but that's the kind of guy you want to fight McGregor. He's not going to take him down. He's going to stand toe to toe because Jeremy Stevens is the kind of guy that thinks he could take anybody out too. So, that's what you want to see.
I think the fact that he burned him so bad at the press conference made it a non competitive. Like, oh, that bout's never happening. I'm
Yeah, he was really good in his prime, dude. Yeah, we'll see.
gonna
It's
collar and elbow his ass one day.
mm, well, if you get to go to England on the UFC's dime and be out there with Bilal, then you won't be really too far from Ireland, right? Because
Well, I'm gonna be in Ireland for a majority of those months down the
okay,
road.
dude, you should fucking go to SBG Ireland, knock on the door,
That would
be
be
like,
pretty
"Hey,
cool.
Dylan Dennis sent me."
Fuck him.
Shit, anything else you got that you want to talk about?
Wrestling War 6, July 6th.
Is it?
Yep.
All right. That's coming up, right? That's less than a month away.
Bingo.
And
Got
what are
some
you
work
guys
to do.
doing? Anything
Everything
special this
again.
time?
I'm gonna try and get some team battles, the format that I've always wanted to have on it. Some like 3v3 or 5v5 team mixed style matches, have some more tag team again. Hopefully not some fucking stupid technical errors, internet errors this time, dealing with a warehouse gym and me being as technically inefficient as I can, but I'll make sure I get the right team assembled this time around.
Yeah, it's growing every time. It's definitely looking better every time, dude. And it's fun. It's cool. It's a good time.
I think
Especially
so.
especially if you're into grappling. Dude, grappling's making such a comeback, right? Like these last what, maybe 10 years, 8, 10 years, grappling's really kind of been a lot more popular. Dude, I don't remember it ever being popular, but you know.
How familiar are you with ADCC? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, yeah. Abu
Deadly
Dhabi.
grappling. And
Yeah.
freaking you seen what's going on with that lately with Craig Jones, the grappler that
I
started his
know he's
own.
amazing. I
Yeah,
know
no,
Craig Joe. Yeah,
so
he's a B team.
he was clamoring for athlete pay for ADCC and was like talking shit about them and saying that because they don't pay the athletes. And since it's been formed and like 1999, the prize money has not gone up for the winner. The winner gets
What?
10 grand in like the late 90s, and today they still get 10 grand. You don't get jack shit really for like second, third, fourth. They get like maybe like a grand or a couple hundred, and everyone else who competed but still had to qualify and do all this hard work and sacrifice to get there don't get paid, even though it's a tournament,
Wow.
and it is what it is. Like, you don't get paid if you're an Olympic wrestler, you don't get paid if all this other shit, but like they are streaming and making a lot of money off the show of ADCC. So like Craig Jones actually just made his own tournament though, with some like for oligarch rich friends, $1 million tournament for
That's
the
why he was on
winner.
Rogan, right?
He made it on the same exact day as ADCC in Vegas as well, and he's paying everyone $10,000 and $1 to show up, because $10,000 is the grand prize. So not only, even if you come and you get smoked in your first match at his tournament, you're getting $10,000, ten
You're
thousand
making
and
more.
one dollar. Yeah, you're making more than the winner to just show
Right.
up, and then the winner gets 1 million. So all the best grapplers that qualified for ADCC are going over to Craig Jones thing. So now grappling is going to be, like profitable.
Wow. Because that's going to force ADCC
Yep.
to either
Okay.
get with the times, dude, or go under.
Yeah, I've never competed for ADCC, and I have wanted to once or twice. I signed up for a trial, like, but it was too soon after I was coming back from a bicep surgery. And then other times things just haven't lined up for me to do it, or I wasn't really focused on jujitsu much, more wrestling at the time. And uh, yeah, I love it. I love it overall. I would like to see wrestling get some, and guess what? I will do my part for that on the promoter end. Wrestlers get paid, because fuck it, dude. Anyone who's busting their ass to do that. Although the prize fighter aspect does make people more, doing it for the prize or this or that or other reasons. And then the wrestlers are doing it for pure glory, like the Olympic guys that aren't getting paid. And I'm speaking from from personal experience as well, chasing a lot of fucking victories and just grappling, wrestling, whatever. Like there's not a lot of recognition, there's not a lot of money, so you're doing all this for basically nothing. I would love to see some return on it, like it once was back in the day.
Hmm.
Apparently, the highest paid athlete ever, with inflation, accounted for, is John McMahon, Irish American catch wrestler in like the right after the Civil War era, and he killed multiple people in the ring. Like he was so brutally strong that he killed like 3 or 4 people in catch wrestling. Retired from catch wrestling because he didn't want to kill any more opponents and just focused on collar and elbow, where it's just trips and stuff. And he still killed someone in collar and elbow by like throwing them off the stage or throwing them on their head. And
Dude,
yeah, a brutal
it's fucked
motherfucker.
up.
But he was rich from doing all these matches and was one of the first wrestling heavyweight champions. And he was like the Brock Lesnar of his day. He was the highest paid athlete ever, with inflation accounted for.
Dude, and if things didn't work out at that, he could always be a hitman because obviously he did not mind taking motherfuckers out, right?
Apparently he didn't mean to, and he didn't want to, and he would always like donate the money to the family. And one of the times he said, "Sorry, I forgot I was so wicked strong." We're talking
Dude,
different men of that era, dude. Different men. Like they said the measurements at like his neck, his forearms, whatever. Like he was just like a freak guy. He was like a soldier, colonel, and a railroader and shit. Just people were different back then. He probably was
mm,
just freakishly fucking strong.
yeah, no doubt. We talked about that a little bit in the Militich podcast too,
Right.
about just
Yep.
the way people ate back then and the way some people still eat today, like, in the some regions of the world, like the Dagestanis. Kind of bringing the episode or the this not really an episode, but this new thing that we're doing to bringing it full circle rather. We started talking about algorithms, right? And we ended up talking about Conor McGregor, and that's going to help our algorithm, our algorithm
Yeah.
substantially.
While we were doing it, I was kind of thinking, like, what am I doing sitting here talking about Conor McGregor? That's like such low common denominator, like
Right.
content stuff. But hey, yeah,
Fuck it,
exactly. You
you
play the
know.
game.
But I am Sawbuck Mike as Headhunter Higgins. And if you are a regular, then cool. You know us, you like us. Conspiracy and Chill, all the platforms. This is something different that we're doing. Let us know if you guys like it in the comments. If not, we could probably find something better to do. But if you guys like it, we'll keep doing it because it gives us an opportunity to be more topical and stay on top of shit. So that's all I got, dude.
Rock and roll.
Stay away from pedophiles.